5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to Westchester Jewish Community Services. As a leading agency in providing a comprehensive spectrum of human services, we have been helping people since 1943. We serve all people in Westchester County, regardless of age, income, or ethnicity. We provide a wide variety of essential and dynamic services that make a difference in people's lives. Children, teens, adults, and senior citizens are served by our network of programs located throughout the county. When people come to us for assistance, they become part of the WJCS family. Our highly trained and skilled staff focus on you and your family and are committed to becoming your partner in finding solutions. For more than half a century, we have been connecting people to services that help them overcome mental, physical, or emotional challenges. WJCS is here in your community when you need us.
Welcome to the Ways We Care of Westchester Jewish Community Services. I'm Dale Wang, Director of Community Relations. WJCS is funded by government grants, private individuals and foundations, UJA Federation, United Way, and various corporations. When a child is identified as having an autistic spectrum disorder, families are often at a loss for how to proceed. The proliferation of information on the internet may make resources available today, but sifting through and evaluating services can be daunting. The ability to have a place where families and children are understood with the autistic spectrum disorder is very important. And as a result, this past month, WJCS opened an Autism Family Center to help parents and children find supports and guidance. To inform us about the Family Center, we've invited Pat Grossman, who is the Director of Counseling Services for People with Developmental Disabilities. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you.
Carrie Phillips, who is Coordinator of Social Skills Groups. Welcome, Carrie. And Veronica Frangos, who is a parent of a child who is participating in social skills groups. Pat, I briefly gave an introduction, but we're very proud to be offering this Autism Support Center for families because I think everyone today recognizes that autism is a wider problem than we have experienced before. Could you give us a little bit of background and let us understand why this was created and what the need is for the Family Center?
Sure. The recent figures state that 1 out of 166 children are diagnosed with autism. Today, 50 families will be newly diagnosed with an autistic spectrum disorder. The range of abilities for an individual with autistic spectrum disorders goes from a person who has limited or no verbal skills to a person whose skills are quite high. So there's a very, very broad range. We know a little bit about autism, that it's a neurobiological disorder of the brain that impacts on a person's ability to communicate with others. A person with autism struggles to form social relationships, may have sensory issues, is often withdrawn, and sometimes appears to be in his own world. What we have experienced at WJCS is an increasing number of phone calls to us asking about services for children and adults who are on the autistic spectrum. As a result of the inquiries and needs that we've experienced from families, we have put together and opened an Autism Family Center, which is unique in Westchester County.
Yeah, I guess we have not heard about a center that combines the kinds of resources and services that are currently being envisioned and provided through our center. What is the gap in services that you're planning to provide?
What families have said over and over again to us is that there's no place for them to go. They, once having received a diagnosis of autism, a family's world changes forever. And what they're looking for is a place that they can sit, where they can get information, and to be able to share experiences with others. There is, as you had mentioned, a proliferation of information that's available on the internet, and it's overwhelming. What we're hoping to do through the center is offer a warm, nurturing, comfortable space where a family can either drop in, have a cup of coffee, speak with other parents, learn about resources that are available in Westchester County, including the various services through WJCS, and have more of a sense of normalcy. That's the one thing that's lacking from these families' lives, is a sense of normalcy.
Mm-hmm. So there's not really a tremendous programmatic plan. It's more establishing a place and then offering the types of programs and supports that families need. What are you putting into place that families will make use of in the center?
One of the major things that we'll be putting into place is a parent mentoring program that is built on an idea that families who have been through this experience can very much be of aid to those who are just starting out on their journey. And what we will be doing is training at least 10 parent mentors who will be available to do telephone support, be able to answer questions that a family member might have, and be able to get that type of support that they may need. In addition to that, we'll be offering parent support groups through the center. We've had requests for single parent groups. We will be having a grandparents group, which is unique and one of the requests that we've had. We will be putting together a sibling program, all of which that will accompany our existing social skills groups for children that we have in place now.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about these social skills groups. Carrie, I understand you've been running groups already. Right. Can you give us a little idea? I know that the center is not going to be doing therapy. It's not a place for therapy, but it is a place where people will find support among each other. Talk a little bit about what that looks like for young people, children or young people or adults with autistic spectrum disorders.
Sure. So the social skills groups we run now are actually focused on teaching children these skills that typical children might learn naturally. Things like, what does it feel like when I'm angry? Well, I know I have this feeling where I sometimes get upset and my heart starts beating really fast and I'm making a fist and I feel like hitting something, but I never knew that was anger and I don't know what to do. So one of the things that we teach is how to recognize your emotions, how to recognize someone else's emotions, and how to calm down when you're upset, which can be very challenging for these kids. We also teach friendship skills, how to go on a play date, how to ask someone to eat lunch with you, how to play with someone, how to handle playing with someone and losing. We teach conversational skills, how to take a turn in a conversation, how to talk about something that somebody else likes to talk about as opposed to just the things you like. And all of these things these kids need to be taught, and they need to not only be taught and practice them in one setting, but they need to then practice them across settings, because what we know about children with autism is they have a real hard time generalizing information. So even something as simple as putting a chair on a desk, if you teach them how to do it, and they sometimes have trouble sort of ordering that, oh, first I pick up the chair, then I flip it over, then I put it on my desk, and you practice that with them and they can do it in the classroom. With the exact same chair in the cafeteria, they might not be able to do it without more practice there. It's just the change of setting really throws them. So our social skills groups are designed to not only teach them the skills, and then in the final 12-week session of the group, we actually go into the community and practice them in restaurants, in somebody's home, you know, as if they were on a play date in the mall, and all kinds of things like that, so that they can really use these skills, you know, in life.
So one of the aspects then of helping people adapt to the world as it is learning. Is it like behavior modification techniques or the social skills? What actually helps them to use that so that they are more able to function correctly?
Well, we do
Not,
two.
I don't want
yeah.
to say correctly. It's
But in the way that
in
society
a way that
expects, yeah.
society accepts. It's not
Yeah,
correctly
absolutely.
because.
There are two sort of things we do. Some of these kids are more interested, the kids that are more classically autistic are more interested in objects than they are in people, and they don't want the social interaction. And then there are the other kids, sort of the Asperger's end of the spectrum, that desperately want the social connection and they just don't know how to do it. And so the ways that we get some of the kids that are less interested in it is we make games out of things. We play a game that's based on a relationship development intervention called Follow My Eyes to the Prize. And so you hide a toy somewhere in the room, and the child has to look where you're looking just without any verbal cues and try to see where the prize is just by where you're looking. And that teaches them to look where other people are looking, to pay attention to something that somebody else is paying attention to. And then they can sort of generalize that skill and we use that skill to other things. So the kids are motivated to find the prize, and therefore they learn that skill even if they're less interested in having those person-to-person skills. The other thing we do is we do a lot of role plays and practicing of situations. We do a lot of sort of acting things out. I found that videotaping the child, letting them see themselves using the skill really helps them learn it as well.
Now, is there follow-up with the families to ensure that the families reinforce these types of behaviors and skills going forward?
Yeah, with all the groups that we do, we have the parents meet simultaneously, not necessarily every week, but sometimes every other week, every third week. And we send home worksheets describing some of the skills that we're using, how to use it. With some of the children, we're in contact with the schools as well, so that they know what we're doing behaviorally with the kids. They can reinforce it in school as well. Or if we have a system that works, there's no need for them to reinvent the wheel. And this, vice versa. If they have something that's working, we want to be doing it as well, so that the child has the consistency.
Okay. Pat, also, you have a care manager who is part of the Family Center. What is the role of that person?
Specifically, the care manager's responsibility is to develop a resource manual that will list up-to-date information on available resources in Westchester County. Everything from day camps to after-school programs to pediatricians who specialize in working with individuals with autism. Additionally, our care manager will be there to help walk parents through the maze of application for services through the Westchester County System of Care and the OMRDD. It's a very complicated process, particularly for those children who are on the higher end of the spectrum who will not ordinarily meet eligibility requirements. And so the care manager's job is to help walk them through that process. We're very fortunate that our care manager also happens to be the parent of a child who is on the autistic spectrum. So she has been through this maze. She knows what the journey is like. She's a very welcoming person and is able to make very good connections with families.
Great. Well, speaking of parents, you've sat there patiently, Veronica, but I'd like to hear from the perspective of a parent in terms of what this type of program, this type of center offers for you and what it offers for your child. I understand you have a son who's a teenager.
Right, he's 14. We've used the social skills groups and also a group over the summer that was FAD. And in both instances, the classes were really terrific for my son, helping him with some of his social skills. And Carrie's right, the generalization piece is very difficult for them. They'll teach them about conversations. They'll give them ideas about how to start conversations. So my son will get in the car with me, and he'll say things to me to try and start a conversation. Or I told Pat one time, first thing in the morning, he said, "So Mom, how was your day?" Because that's what you're supposed to ask someone. Unfortunately, it was 7 o'clock. Just started. So
Right.
The social skills are, I find, very helpful for Eddie in generalizing. The family center that's opening, I think, will be really useful for parents, because it is true, when you get the diagnosis in the beginning, you don't know where to turn. There is almost too much information. And also, it can be an isolating time for parents, I think, as you come to understand your child's needs, and just it can be. And it'd be nice to go somewhere and meet with other parents and share experiences so you don't feel so isolated.
When was it in your child's development that you discovered that he was autistic?
My son's a bit older now, so the diagnosis wasn't given readily, so we knew something was different about my son. He had great language, so it wasn't the language issue that appeared first. It was his social skills and his inability to transition, and very routine-oriented. And we were at the beach, and a mother came up to me and she said, "Oh, your son is playing so nicely with my son." And my son was 5 at the time. We thought that was great. She said, "My son's autistic. He usually doesn't have anybody to play with at the beach." And my husband and I looked at each other and we thought, oh. So about that time is when they told us about my son and his social issues.
And how would a family center like this have been helpful to you in those earlier stages?
I think the resources, where to turn, people that know the direction to point you in, the social skills.
Do you anticipate that you would find value in talking with other parents about the experiences that they have had?
Oh, always. It's helpful to talk to other parents. Just there's school concerns, there's friendship concerns, there's sibling concerns. I have a number of other children, so there is different effects on the different children in the family, and it'd be nice too if my children without autism had other children to speak to whose siblings had autism, to share experiences.
Yeah.
I think that what's important for us in the Family Center is developing a sense of community, that parents will feel connected to something else. Through some of the family recreational activities that we're going to have, we're scheduling a dinner and game night. Once advertising this, some of the calls have been, "Do you mean my entire family can come?" And the answer is yes, your entire family. We want your entire family to come. So share a slice of pizza, we'll play bingo, but your family will be together. And that's what the families have asked for. And that's what we'll be doing through the Family Center. Not just the separate parent support, sibling support, or social skills groups themselves, but to develop that real sense of community that families with a child with autism very much lack because of the sense of isolation.
One of the important things that we have not talked about yet is that this is a program funded through UJA Federation. And maybe you could talk a little bit about how that grant came about and why WJCS felt it was important to do that.
We're very grateful to be the recipient of a UJA Federation grant. What it permits us to do is to open this center. It will also help us incorporate the other programs that WJCS currently has. And that would include our Havara program, that would include some of our developmental disabilities programs. We have a group home that exists that has young adults in it who are on the autistic spectrum. And through the grant, we're able to put this all under one roof and to coordinate our efforts.
So based on the need, we applied to UJA Federation, and we've been lucky to get this program started with their funding.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that you're having a family night. I know you have other types of things anticipated. What other types of activities are planned so that you can gather families or gather people together? This is not only for youth. I understand there's also something for adults, the Breakfast Club. Could you talk a little bit about how you deal with adults on the spectrum?
Go ahead. Adults on the spectrum basically have the same needs. They need a place to go and socialize where they can, especially these adults that want the connection but aren't sure how. And so they shy away from social experiences because they're afraid they're going to get it wrong. They're afraid they're going to be judged. Maybe they've had a bad experience in the past where they've inadvertently offended people. And so they want a place to go where they can sort of socialize, but it's a safe, comfortable place where they can sort of try out these skills. And it's a very challenging experience for some of these people to make these connections even though they really do want them. So we're trying to just provide a safe space for adults that do want the connection but might need a little support in trying to make it.
Mm-hmm. And I guess uniquely this was established as a breakfast club. I think that that's not so usual. People often do things in the evenings or during the day, but maybe that's a good time to start your day.
Exactly, and the idea, I think, of an evening or a weekend might be too anxiety producing for some of these adults. It might feel too much like a party or a big scary social event. So to do just a little something before they go off to work or go off to whatever day program they participate in feels sort of manageable to them, and therefore it's a good way to sort of start having these social interactions.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one gentleman that I'm working with who happens to be in his late 50s. He's an Orthodox gentleman who has Asperger's. He works in New York City. What he's able to do, he can speak 5 languages. He's talented in math, but he does not have one friend. And when I told him about the Breakfast Club, he said, when? And the idea that he can connect with someone else who's like him was extraordinary to him. Mm-hmm. So that's why a program like the Breakfast Club will help us with the continuum of care for individuals from grade school through adulthood.
Right. Veronica, do you have additional ideas for the types of things that could be helpful for your family and your son? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Looking over at Pat.
As a person who is faced with the challenge of raising a child, what are there different types of activities or skills you would like to address?
Well, I think what they've started so far with the social skills groups has been great. In the summer, it's got a slightly different feel. The kids went on some trips, they went to the mall. All that is great for my son because, as they say, it's very isolating. So as some of my children go off to birthday parties still, or they go on sleepovers, my oldest son does not get that opportunity. But it's nice if he has something to look forward to, such as the trip to the mall or bowling as a group. So he feels like he has a social life as well.
Okay. Pat, I'd like to give you a little bit of opportunity to talk about some of the other programs, the family advocacy and other programs that are in that continuum of care.
Our therapeutic support services programs, the social skills groups for children, will take kids from 7 years old through the age of 13, 12 or 13. Following that, family advocacy, once again, the focus is on preserving the family unit, and that's for children and their families from age 13 through about 16, and then we will have the Breakfast Club as well as, hopefully in the future, a young adult club. Those programs, all in their own way, will focus on developing and utilizing social skills, either in a formal or informal manner. So we're able to once again provide the continuum of care, but also to involve families on the level that they need.
And I'd like to add, too, that recently WJCS added milestones into our continuum of care, which really deals with the very youngest people who are identified with developmental delays. So we're really starting from birth and going through. I imagine that many people who are looking for that type of support from birth on may use the resources that we developed through the Autism Family Center.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In addition, you had mentioned individual counseling and group counseling. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the types of services that are available on a counseling, more therapeutic level.
Our developmental disabilities program has been around for many years, and what we recognize is that while social skills is the primary way of having intervention with children who are on the spectrum, there are those children for whom, and individuals, adults as well, for whom social skills groups, they're not yet ready for them. In those instances, and when a child may or an adult may have an accompanying psychiatric disorder, that we would work with them in individual counseling, either to help prepare them for social skills groups or to help them work on those psychiatric issues that interfere with their ability to function on a day-to-day basis. Those programs exist in 3 of our clinics, in our Hartsdale location, in Mount Vernon, and in Yonkers.
Okay. And then I know that it's also stressful for families at the stage when young people are aging out, when they finish school, the elementary and high school, and then the question is where to go, what to do. Can you talk a little bit about how you address that aspect of maturing and becoming more independent for people with autistic spectrum disorders?
Part of the focus of the FAD group is dealing with sort of self-advocacy and learning for those teenage kids to start to learn how to advocate for their own needs. And in the concurrent parents group, the parents are focusing on what are some of the laws around some of these things, what are they entitled to through the school system, and how to really start planning for their child. Is their child going to go to college, in which case they need to research what colleges are going to provide the support their child needs? Is their child going to need vocational services? Should they be linking up with VESID or one of the other agencies that can help with that? Is their child going to need, lifelong care? Should they be trying to get into the developmental disability system? Should they be worrying about housing for their child once their child is no longer going to be living at home? So all of those issues are things we sort of work on with the parents, and now that we have the Autism Family Center, families will also be able to start broaching those issues through the resources the care manager will have.
Okay.
We also anticipate that we'll be hosting symposium where we will have speakers come in to talk on identified topics. Future planning is a huge issue for these families. So we're hoping that we'll be able to get a speaker in who's knowledgeable in that field who will help guide parents as well.
And then, of course, we do have the continuum of services where people can try to work with us for a group home and to find residential care as someone gets older. I know you've been close with the women who moved into Hudson Terrace.
Right.
And through UJA Federation, too, we're involved with establishing a kosher group home. So we're in the process of getting some of those things into place. Are there any other aspects, Pat, that you would like to point out or that that parents or families should know about in terms of accessing and using the resources you imagine will be available through the Autism Family Center?
We're a new program, and because of that, there are a lot of we're not sure yet. As we get phone calls, my hunch is we will be adding names of people to lists based on things that they're looking for. We were surprised at our open house at how many grandparents came out who right away identified the need and were hungry for a grandparents group. Hence, we will be offering a grandparents group within the next month or so. So we're not sure to the extent to which the Autism Center will go. We do know that as our resources will permit, we will develop those programs that feel appropriate for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would like to thank you all for your participation, and I hope that as people view this program, they'll get a sense of the range of services that will be available. It's an evolving program, as you said, and I imagine that much of the parent input will be part of what is taken into account as you established. If people want to get in touch with you, how should they reach you?
There are two ways to do that. They can call us directly at 761-0600, extension 228, or by email, which would be pgrossman@wjcs.com.
Okay, and that's something I forgot on the earlier show, but I hope that thank you very much for your participation, and I hope that as people watch this, they will consult our website, WJCS.com, or give us a call at 761-0600 for further information about the Autism Family Center or any of the programs of WJCS that work with people with developmental disabilities or autism spectrum disorders. Thank you again, Pat and Carrie and Veronica, for your time tonight. Thank you and good night.